Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, our community was attacked last night. Brothers and sisters were attacked. They were on their way to the masjid to pray to Allah and hope they could earn His forgiveness and seek His pleasure. But a crazed, demented, deranged individual ran many of them over in a van. Many have been injured. Make dua for them to recover. As of now, it has been confirmed that one uncle died on the spot. They attempted to resuscitate him, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that it would be his time for death.
30 more, bro. One every second.
Wait. And he died. May Allah have mercy on him. And we're not upset at the fact that he died. When we look at the way in which he died, I mean, he died on his way to the masjid to pray the night prayer in the month of Ramadan. If that's, we're all going to die. But it's how we die that counts. Remember, it's how you die that counts. He died in the path of Allah. He died obeying Allah, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're not upset at that. But what we are upset about is the fact that our security and our safety has been threatened.
It's okay, it's okay.
Why is it our Islam has to come in?
As you can see from the footage, there's carnage. One of the uncles that you saw at the beginning of the footage is actually an uncle that is a direct uncle of our brother Abu Taymiyyah, Ustad Abu Taymiyyah. May Allah preserve him and his family. I ask you, make dua for this uncle and everyone else who was injured, and make dua for the uncle who died, that Allah accepts him into paradise. But like I said, brothers and sisters, our security and our safety has been threatened, and we need to act in accordance to this, and we need to respond. But the question is, how do we react and how do we respond? You see, we react and respond all the time, but our problem is we don't react in accordance to the Quranic guidance. But today I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm going to give you an ayah from the Quran, and I'm going to speak to you from the Quran. We're going to take Quranic guidance, okay? This situation's got out of hand. It's become problematic, okay? It became problematic because we turned away from the Quran. And we still insist on it. I'm going to mention to you the Quranic guidance. I beg you, please take it today. This is the Quran. We're in the month of the Quran, which is Ramadan. If you're not going to take it now, in this month, then when will you take it, my brothers and sisters? So what do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells in Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 83, وَإِذَا جَاءَ أَمْرٌ مِنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوِ الْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا بِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that when a situation occurs that is concerning the safety and the security of the Muslims, or the fear of the Muslims, like for example last night, the security and the safety of the Muslims has been threatened. Allah tells us that when a situation like that occurs, أَذَاعُوا بِهِ. What do the people do? They just go spreading the news. Did you hear what happened? Did you see what happened? Everyone's tweeting, everyone's on Facebook, okay, talking about what happened. And the people take it a step further. Instead of just spreading the news, they go one step further. They start telling you how to respond, tell you how to react, based on their emotions, based on their own intellect, based on their agendas. Some of them have got political agendas, okay? Some of them have got, extreme military agendas, where they only have a military mindset only, okay? And some of them, whatever their agenda might be, they start telling you how to respond. And then they'll bring you ayat and hadith to fit around their political narrative, to fit around their military-only narrative, to fit around whatever else mindset it is. And this is a means of misguidance. As Imam Ibn Taymiyyah said, يَعْتَقِدُونَ, they believe something first. They tell you this is the way to react. ثُمَّ يَسْتَدِلُونَ, then after that they look for evidence to back up their belief. But that's not how you should do it. The first thing you do is you should go to the evidence. The first thing you should do is go to the book. Based on that, then you act. Okay? So brothers and sisters, put all of this to the side. Let's go to the Quranic guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that when these situations happened, we should what? We should not be spreading the news. That's what the understanding of the ayah is. Rather, Allah said, وَلَوْ رَدُّوهُ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ وَإِلَى أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُمْ. Rather, Allah said, what we should have done in such a situation is that we should have taken this matter back to the messenger. Not just the messenger, but the scholars who are placed in authority amongst us. Why the scholars? Because Allah said, لَعَلِمَهُ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنْبِطُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ. Because they're the ones who have the knowledge of the Quran. They're the ones who have the knowledge of the Sunnah, right? And because they have the knowledge of the Sunnah, they are able to assess the situation best. Okay, this is what took place. Now that they know what took place, they understand what took place, they already have an understanding of the Quran and what the Prophet said. They're going to now extract from the Quran the correct response, the correct reaction. They're going to tell you how to do that. Brothers and sisters, that's our problem. We don't listen to our scholars. We don't, and we don't listen to the evidences that they bring from the Messenger ﷺ or the Quran. That's our problem. But inshallah ta'ala, today, I'm hoping, my beloved brothers and sisters, that you will lend me an attentive ear, where I'm going to mention to you the understanding of our scholars from Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And you can't say these are scholars for dollars, because I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to mention no scholar alive. I'm going to tell you scholars that you and I all agree upon in love from the past, who are dead. May Allah have mercy on them. And they've been saved from fitna, and we know that they died upon the haqq, inshallah ta'ala. So, I'm going to mention to you from them, and I'm going to mention to you the evidences that they bring. Before I do that, I just want to address some of the non-Muslims who are probably listening to me right now. I want you to understand something, oh non-Muslims. You see, there is a narrative that's pushed that the Muslims are the ones who are barbaric. And we've been telling you guys for the longest time that we are not barbaric. Our religion teaches us peace. We're not allowed to take the life of an innocent person. Allah tells us in the Quran, if you take the life of an innocent person, it's like you took the life of all of humanity. That's our stance and our position. We're not even allowed to harm trees, for goodness sake. Okay? We're not even allowed to harm trees. We're not even allowed to harm animals. A woman went to the hellfire because she starved her cat. Telling me about animal rights? Our religion's got animal rights. And another woman who was a prostitute was accepted into paradise. Why? Because she fed a thirsty dog. We're not allowed to harm trees. We're not allowed to harm dogs. We're not allowed to harm cats, let alone human beings. Yes, you have some attacks that take place. But we keep telling you there are not people who are based on Islam. They have military, political agendas that are outside Islam. They are a fringe minority who do not represent our religion. Okay? We've been saying that for the longest time, but people still haven't listened. I hope that now you'll be able to understand and relate how we feel. Because the same thing happened to you guys last night. You had someone who was from a fringe minority of your group, your ideology. Whether you're Christian, whether you're atheist, whether you're secular, you're liberal, you're a person who's into democracy, whatever your ideology, whatever ism, schism you're from, okay? You're an English, British person, someone from your community committed an act of terror last night where they killed innocent Muslims. Now, should it now follow that I now label every British person as a terrorist, as an extremist who wants Muslim blood on their hands? No, it would be insane and preposterous for me to postulate such a notion, because not all of you are like that. I know you're not like that. I live amongst you. You live amongst us. You should know we're not like that either. There is a fringe minority from your community who happen to do that the same way from our community. But they don't represent Islam the same way that fringe minority doesn't represent atheism, doesn't represent liberal secular values, right? Even though maybe that could be up for discussion. Liberal secular values are actually a direct result towards, war, but considering the fact that, more people died in the last 100 years as a result of non-religious conflict in the last 100 years than any religious conflict, all of them put together in the last 1,000 years. In fact, over 220 million people were killed as a direct result of non-religious, secular, communist, even atheist values. But that's a discussion for another day. The point is that I'm still not going to go there and label you all the same. That's point number one. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to understand the inconsistency of your media. If this was a Muslim who had done this, everyone would straight away label it as an act, as a terror-related incident. I'm saying the same thing happened. You had a Muslim who drove a car into innocent people. Okay, criminal, worthy of, being punished in the hellfire for the act that he did. Okay, that act is worthy of hellfire. Whether he's a Muslim or not, it doesn't make a difference. That's murder. Okay. Now you have a British person do the exact same thing. One is called a terrorist, another one is called what? No, they didn't say terrorism. And by the time this video comes up, and I'm pretty sure they're still not going to call it a terrorist incident, because this stuff happens in the past. They never call it a terrorist incident. And I don't really care. It doesn't really bug me that they don't say. And I'm not looking for the media to defend my religion. I'm not looking for them to defend my honor. Allah is going to defend our honor. Allah is going to defend our religion. That's not a problem. We're not fussed. We're not fussed. But the point is that you need to understand there's an inconsistency and there's an agenda that's taking place behind closed doors. With that said, let me turn back to my Muslim brothers and sisters. How do we respond? How do we react? Brothers and sisters, I've mentioned to you the following verses many times, and I'm not going to stop mentioning them. I'm going to mention them till I die, inshallah ta'ala, till you guys get the point. This is our response. Our response and our reaction is not even to the kuffar. We don't even want to talk to them. We don't want to get involved in your politics. We don't want to talk to the media. Put that all to aside. They don't concern us. We want to turn and direct ourselves towards the Muslims. That's our reaction. Our reaction, our response is to the Muslims. We don't want the kuffar to say sorry. We don't want them to stand up for our rights. We don't want them to start. We don't want that. We don't want nothing from them. What we want to do is we want to talk to the Muslims. What do we want to talk to the Muslims? We want to teach the Muslims Tawheed, to worship Allah. We want to teach the Muslims the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. You're telling me how is teaching Tawheed and Sunnah going to make a difference? I've mentioned this verse many times. I'm going to mention it again. Allah said, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is a promise that Allah makes to those who are believers from amongst you. Are you a believer? Then pay attention. You're the believers amongst you. And those who do righteous actions, are you doing righteous actions? Are you worshipping Allah in the month of Ramadan? Good, Allah's talking to you. What's the promise that Allah makes? لَا يَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. That Allah's going to give you authority on the earth. كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Like He gave to those before you. Did Allah not give it to the Sahaba? But the Sahaba not being attacked. Did Allah not give them from the footsteps of China in the east to the shores of Spain in the west? Yes, Allah did. Is that the promise? No, that's not the only promise. وَلَا يُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَى لَهُم. Allah said the second promise, apart from being authoritative on the earth, is that Allah is going to establish your religion for you. And not just that, Allah said, وَلَا يُبَدِّلَنَّهُم مِّن بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. Allah will change, Allah said, your situation of fear to a state of safety and security. Is that not what you want right now, brothers and sisters? You want to be authoritative. You want your words to hold weight. And Imam Muhammad Shanqiti rahimullah is the one who understood this verse, as I'm going to explain it to you in a second. And we all know Imam Muhammad Shanqiti rahimahullah, who has the tafsir Adwal Bayan. It's the best tafsir when it comes to explaining the Quran or the Quranic verses. Okay, Allah said you want safety, you want security, okay? You want your religion to be established. There's a promise. Allah says, I'm going to do that for you. But what's the condition? يَعْبُدُونَنِي. Allah said, worship me alone. لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. Do not do no shirk. Don't do no shirk. Okay, brothers and sisters, Allah is telling us that authority, for us to be authoritative on the earth, is not our job, it's Allah's job. Allah is saying that Allah's going to do it. Allah is saying for security and safety to be established and our fear to be removed, Allah said that's not your or my job. Allah said Allah said Allah's going to do it. Allah is going to change our situation. Allah is going to establish our religion. Allah said Allah doesn't want us to work towards, establishing the khilafah. Allah said Allah's going to bring it. Allah doesn't want us to work towards changing the situation of safety. That's Allah saying that's Allah's job. Allah said Allah attributed that to Himself. If you understand Arabic, go back to the verse yourself and you'll see. What did Allah tell us He wants us to do? Allah says your job, يَعْبُدُونَنِي, worship me alone. Allah said, لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. Don't come in no shirk. So the first thing you and I need to do is deal with the shirk in our communities. Deal with the grave worshippers. Deal with the ta'weezes that people are wearing. Deal with the people who had come in all this shirk and this kufriyat. Our countries have how many graves that are worshipped? All of our countries, except for a handful. In fact, you'll struggle to count them on the 5 fingers of one hand. Okay? 5 if you want to include the thumb finger, right? You'd struggle to count them on one hand. That's how many countries are covered with graves. So that's what we need to do. You can shout and scream and protest and get involved in politics all day, brothers and sisters. Now, that's not permissible anyway, but you can try that even if it was permissible. It's not going to change nothing. I beg you understand. People are still going to get killed in the streets. Our countries are still going to be invaded. Our Muslims are still going to be violated till we start worshipping Allah alone. That's why the Prophet ﷺ spent 13 years embedding Tawheed in the hearts of the Muslims. 13 years he spent teaching them Tawheed, teaching them how to worship Allah. And only then that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the Sahaba authority in Medina. And then when they carried it on, Allah gave them the rest of the world. Another ayah that echoes this. Allah said, الَّذِينَ إِن مَكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, that Allah describes the ones who Allah gives authority to on the earth, the ones who Allah establishes on the earth. How does Allah define them? How does Allah describe them? Sorry. أَقَامُ الصَّلَاةِ, Allah said they establish the prayer. وَآتَوُوا الزَّكَاةِ, they give the zakah. وَأَمَرُوا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, they command the good. وَنَهَوْا عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, they forbid the evil. Brothers and sisters, this is how Allah described them. They pray. How many of our Muslims don't pray 5 times a day? You want an action, you want a response? Teach Muslims how to pray. Get them to pray according to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Teach them the salah. Don't just get them to pray. Teach them the fiqh and the ahkam. Why? Because Allah said, الَّذِينَ إِن مَكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. These are the ones who Allah establishes on the earth. These are the ones who Allah makes strong on the earth. These are the ones Allah protects on the earth. Not the ones who don't pray. Give the zakat. There's the zakat is of 2 types. The zakatul mal, which you and I have to give every year, 2.5%. And the zakatul fitr. Most Muslims don't even know about zakatul fitr, that you have to pray in Ramadan. They don't even do it correctly, okay? I'm going to make a video on this inshallah ta'ala shortly. Paying your zakatul fitr, paying your zakatul mal is something that is a means for Allah to establish you on the earth. وَأَمْرُوا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, enjoying good. وَنَهُوا عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, forbid evil. Nowadays, I'm trying to enjoy good. You're trying to enjoy good. We say don't do bid'ah, come to sunnah. That's enjoying good, forbidding evil. People tell me, brother, stop talking about bid'ah all the time. They want me to stop forbidding evil and stop enjoying good. And they're happy when other people spread their filth. Last night you had Muslims from my, and I love my people. My Pakistani people, I love them. And I'm not being nationalistic, but they're my people, I love them, okay? But sadly, my people, many of them, not all, but a significant proportion of them, they didn't worship Allah last night. They were out in the streets, driving their cars up and down with girls and boys listening to music, okay? Celebrating the Pakistan victory of the cricket match over India. I'm saying they weren't praying. But you think we're going to get victory? Our Muslims in the month of Ramadan are not even praying. Not even when they're supposed to be begging Allah in the last 10 nights to forgive them. Out celebrating a victory of what? A cricket match? And then what? Who went out there and stopped it? Who actually went out there and tried to stop it? Who enjoyed good? Who forbid evil? At the moment, as long as we keep, you rather forget enjoying good, forbid evil. We enjoy evil and forbid good. We tell you, yo, do music in your da'wah. I don't even want to go into it. It's long. But the point is that you need to deal with this. Until you deal with that, it's a problem. When you're enjoying good, the first thing you're enjoying is tawheed, and the first thing you forbid is shirk. And the second thing that you're enjoying is sunnah, and the next thing that you forbid is bid'ah. And the next thing that you enjoy is that you obedience of Allah and staying away from sins. And the next thing that the third thing in line that you forbid is sins. And this is our da'wah. We call to tawheed, we forbid shirk. We call to sunnah, we forbid bid'ah. We call to obeying Allah, and we forbid disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with major sins. Brothers and sisters, I can go on. Many evidences. The hadith, Abi Dawood, Imam Ahmad, Imam Bayhaqi rahimahullah narrates it. Hadith Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma. When the Prophet said, Sallallahu alaykum dhulla. Sallallahu alaykum dhulla. Na'am. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will humiliate you, the Prophet said, when we fall into sins. Allah will humiliate you. لا ينزعه. Allah will not remove that humiliation. حتى ترجعوا إلى دينكم, until you come back to your religion. Come back to your religion, brothers and sisters. Another narration, which is narrated by Imam al-Tabarani in his Mu'jam al-Kabir, rahimahullah. The Prophet ﷺ said, ترجعوا إلى أمركم الأول. The first hadith Prophet said, return back to your religion. The next hadith he said, return back to your original affairs. So what does it mean, return back to your religion? This hadith explains it. The religion is the original religion. When the Prophet said return back to your religion, then he said return back to your original affairs. So in other words, bring those two hadiths together. Return back to the original understanding of your religion. In other words, the religion of the Sahaba, who understood it better. Who are the Sahaba? They were the Salaf. This is what our da'wah of the Salafis is. Da'wah to what? The original understanding of the religion of Islam. The purest understanding, the religion of the Sahaba. When we explain an ayah, we understand how the Sahaba understood it. When we explain a hadith of the Prophet, we understand how the Sahaba understood it. Don't let the people confuse you and tell you this is what Salafis are. No, Salafis are not ISIS. 2 different things. If only you knew how against we are the situation of ISIS. We're the ones who refute ISIS. We refuted ISIS before any of you guys. We refuted ISIS before our scholars, our ulama, were the first to speak out against ISIS before any of you guys, with all due respect, okay? So the original religion is what? Salafiyah. This is what Ahlul Sunnah is really about. This is the real Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So that's my first point, brothers and sisters. That your reaction, response to the Muslim community, teach them Tawheed, teach them Sunnah, teach them Aqeedah of the Prophet ﷺ. That's what you should do. That was the first point I wanted to make. What should you not do? What should you not do? There's many things that you shouldn't do, but one thing that I want to highlight right now is that you should not get physical. You should not respond in like. Okay? You should not respond in like. A lot of the non-Muslims who are watching, probably they don't understand the psychology of these extremists who respond in a violent way. Let me explain to you what their psychology is right now. There's many factors, but let me try and simplify it for you. Muslims get killed in the Muslim lands. You've got people who've got family connections back home. They're looking at these Muslims, and we consider when our Muslim brothers get bombed, for us it's not collateral damage like it's said on the news for you guys. When you say it's collateral damage, an innocent kid died, no, that's my young brother who died. Okay, so we as a Muslim community, we all feel that pain. We all cry. We shed tears for our innocent brothers who we never met, our innocent sisters who we never met, who died or killed unjustly, okay, and are being oppressed in the Muslim world, okay? Like the 132,000 that were killed in Iraq for no reason, okay? Why? They said that they were after chemical weapons, only to find out there was no chemical weapons. How many years later? They're still there. They haven't gone away. The soldiers are still there, occupying the lands. And that's a direct reason why people like ISIS come out. They come out as a reaction, as a response. For them, it's like, you know, you killed ours, we're going to kill yours. That's wrong. I've told you. We don't believe you can kill innocent people. Yeah, we believe you have the right to defend yourself against the one who's actually attacking you. But the innocent one, you can't kill him. You can't harm him. So it's a chain reaction. Okay, Muslims were killed. Other Muslims said, okay, now we're gonna respond. They keep killing ours. We're gonna respond by killing theirs. It's wrong. I've already told you. It's wrong. It's evil. It's a corrupted belief. We don't respond in that way. But that's the psychology of them. Okay, so then that's why you find attacks happening in the UK, because they're thinking if we can do something here, maybe they'll stop bombing the innocent people back home. I told you it's wrong. I'm not justifying it. I'm telling you the psychology of how they think. Okay, now that happened, but then there's a chain reaction, because now you got British people who are thinking, whoa, what's going on? They're attacking our people. They're thinking I've got nothing to do with Iraq, but all I know is you're attacking my people. So now they respond like what happened last night. This guy, he ran over some innocent Muslims. Now my fear is that now they're going to respond. Bearing in mind that if you wanted to look at where the reaction started, I'm saying every reaction of kind in such a way is wrong. But if you wanted to look at where these reactions started from, they started based on what? Foreign policy. They started based on Western foreign policy. That's where it started. So if you want to get rid of the underlying root cause, the non-Muslims who are listening, Britishers listening, you need to speak to your MPs. I'm not going to speak to MPs. I'm not involved in politics. I hate politics. But you need to speak to your MPs. You need to speak to your governments. You need to speak to your people and tell them to stop. Because that's where it started. That's going to be a long-term solution for you guys. But that's another discussion for another day. Coming back to the Muslims now. Brothers and sisters, don't react in that way. Yes, it's true. They started it off by bombing. But remember, we're not educated by our oppressors. Our oppressors are not our role models. They're not our teachers. Our role model is the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? We do not learn their techniques and their tactics and apply it to innocent people. They killed innocent. But our Prophet ﷺ never killed innocent. I told you he never even harmed the tree, for goodness sake. Because what did that tree do? The tree didn't do nothing to deserve any harm. So our Prophet ﷺ never harmed no innocent. So we will not respond by harming any innocent person either. You cannot do this, brothers and sisters. Okay? This is a crime. It's an atrocity. So get that thinking out of your head. I'll give you a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, hadith, Sunan Nabi Dawood, narrated by Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma. The Prophet said, anyone who kills a non-Muslim who you have a covenant with, forget an innocent non-Muslim. It's already established you can't kill an innocent Muslim. But then the Prophet took it one step higher. If you kill a non-Muslim who you have a covenant of peace with, a covenant of security with, the Prophet ﷺ said that you will not even smell the fragrance of paradise, even though its fragrance can be smelt from 40 years away. Okay, pay attention. Now you might think to yourself, how do I have a covenant with the kuffar? I have no covenant with them. This is Darul Harb. We're in a state of war. No, brothers and sisters, we're not in a state of war. We're not in a state of war. We are in a state of peace. We're in a state of covenant. Okay? We are not in the UK in a state of war. You have a covenant with the kuffar that you live with. What is a covenant? Imam Ahmad rahimullah narrated a consensus. And as you know, the Prophet ﷺ said, this ummah will not unite upon misguidance. His hadith is hasan. Some try to weaken it. But if you look at the other turuq of the hadith, they strengthen it. The hadith is hasan, as Imam al-Bani rahimullah authenticated it. And it's not the only evidence for a consensus being proof. We have ayat in the Quran that I don't want to go into now, but you can check my previous videos. I expanded on it. And our Ustad Abdurrahman Hassan, Hafidullah, just released a series on the issue of extremism. He mentions this issue of ijma' as well. Imam Ahmad narrated a consensus, brothers and sisters, that a covenant is any word or gesture of peace, okay, to a non-Muslim. And it's not based on what your intention is. It's based on how the disbeliever understood it. So for example, if I smile at a disbeliever, is that a gesture of peace? Do you smile at your enemy? No. If I smile, the moment I've smiled, that non-Muslim and me now have a covenant of peace, a covenant of security and safety. I'm not going to harm him. I can't harm him. You might be thinking I was smiling because I was looking at how funny he looked, for example. It's not about what you intended. It's about how he understood it. He thought, oh. He's smiling. Okay, let me let him live in my country. Let me go into his country. For him to say, come into my country because I see you to be harmless, because I saw you smile at me, and for you to kill him is now being deceptive and treacherous. You're breaking a contract. Our Prophet ﷺ never broke a contract. He had covenants of peace with the Jews, covenants of peace with the kuffar, the mushrikeen. They broke it. The Prophet ﷺ never broke a covenant. He always stood true to his word, brothers and sisters. So please, do not fall into that. Now, if smiling or just waving at a kafir, okay, as a disbeliever, is enough to have a covenant of peace, then what about you actually living in their country, having a residency in their country, okay? You have a residence, you're living. This is a covenant. It's even more. When they give you a residency, they don't give you a residency with the understanding that you're going to kill the innocent people. No, of course not, brothers and sisters. That's preposterous. By the way, when I say brothers and sisters, the non-Muslims don't listen. Don't think I'm talking to the majority. I'm only talking to that fringe minority. Overwhelming majority of Muslims, I don't have to tell them this. They already know, okay? I'm only talking to the fringe minority. But to those brothers and sisters of you who might be having these extremist inclinations, who might have emotions that are popping up, getting angry, think you want to respond in an aggressive way, that's not how you do. Like I already told you, you have to teach Tawheed. Even if it was permissible to respond in an aggressive way right now, okay? The underlying cause is shirk. The underlying cause is bid'ah. That until you get rid of that, we're still going to be in the exact same situation that me and you are in. Do you hear what I'm saying, brothers and sisters? So you can't come with that talk. You can't come with that talk. Put that to a side. Imam al-Albani rahimahullah said, "Tariquna tawil." Our path is long. Yeah, it's very easy to go fight someone, to go get aggressive and whatnot, but that doesn't do anything for the long run. That's all long, brothers and sisters. Our path is long, as Imam Albani said. It's the long way, which is to teach people, like the Prophet ﷺ did. Sahaba wanted to fight in Mecca, okay? We're not denying there's a time and a place, okay, where you take up arms. But that's a discussion for another day, okay? Has conditions and prerequisites and pillars that, you know, that's a topic that needs to be discussed, no doubt, because people misunderstand the concept of jihad, okay? But that's for a discussion for another day. Yes, our Prophet ﷺ, he did do jihad in the right time, in the right place. But brothers and sisters, even when the companions wanted to fight in Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ told them, calm down. No, it's not the time and the place, okay? Not the time and the place. And they were actually their blood was being spilt left, right, center, and the Prophet ﷺ still did not allow them to do that. Okay, so that was my second point, brothers and sisters. I told you now, first point, how to react. Teach people Tawheed, Sunnah. The second thing I told you was do not react in that aggressive way, even though there's many other ways to not react that I should have mentioned, but time is not permitting me right now. What's the third point I want to mention? The third point is, how do you teach Tawheed? How do you call the people to Tawheed? How do you call them to Sunnah? Which is really the underlying solution. Brothers and sisters, the way that you do it is by studying your religion. You want to call people to Tawheed? Tawheed is La ilaha illallah, right? Allah said, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Allah said, have knowledge of La ilaha illallah. So until you have knowledge, until you seek knowledge, until you sit down with a pen and paper, until you study books like Qawaid al-Arba'a, Nawaqid al-Islam, Usul al-Thalath, Kitab al-Tawheed, study the Arabic language so you can understand what's in the Quran. Until you study, brothers and sisters, wallahi, you're going to struggle to understand Tawheed. You're going to struggle. We need to seek knowledge. Knowledge is the underlying problem. Ignorance is the underlying problem. And the solution is knowledge. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah was an example of this. Like I've already mentioned, we're not in a state of war, but Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, who was in a state of war, in Darul Harb, when the Muslims picked up their weapons to fight against the Mongols who were killing them, he went up to them and said, put your weapons down. He took the swords out of their hands and said, put it down. Why? He said, Wallahi, you're not going to win today. Wallahi, you're not going to win today. Why? Why are you not going to win today? Why are you not going to win today? He said, because you haven't come with the reasons for Allah to give you victory. He sat them down and he taught them Aqeedah Wasitiyya, Hamawiyya, Tadmuriyya, his books of Aqeedah. He taught them Tawheed, he taught them Sunnah. He tried to get rid of the Shirk, tried to get rid of the Bid'ah as much as he could. He was educating the Muslims, he was nurturing them, he was teaching them. Once he saw that they got to a point where they were educated, they knew the religion now. They knew the religion. Because he understood the reason they're suffering, the reason they're being humiliated is because they left their religion. He understood they have to come back to their religion. And the original understanding of the religion, the understanding of Sahaba. So that's what he was teaching them. And when he taught them, Rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on him. Then when he was teaching them, then he gathered the army. He prepared the army, and he said, now we're going to go in. And when they were going in, what did he do? What did he say? He said, today we're going to have victory. And someone from the crowd said, say inshallah, ya Shaykh al-Islam. And he said, inshallah, but our inshallah today is not a weak-hearted inshallah. It's just, inshallah, it's certainty. You know why? Because we came with the reasons for Allah to give you victory. What is the reason? Tawheed, Sunnah, obedience. The opposite of shirk, bid'ah, and disobedience. That's the reasons, brothers and sisters. Imam Abu Dawood. Do you know Imam Abu Dawood? The one who wrote this book, Sunan Abi Dawood. We all hear Bukhari, Muslim, Ibn Majah, Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, An-Nasa'i, Ibn Majah. There's 6 books of hadith. Ummahat Sitta. This book right now is just 1 volume. Altogether I have it, the whole collection right up there. You can't see it, but it's up there. It's a 5-6 volume collection of hadith. Imam Abu Dawood, who was from the Salaf Salihin, student of Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah, student of Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah. At his time, there was a fitna. It was called fitna to Zinj. And it was in Iraq, if I'm not mistaken. There was a huge fitna, like we got fitna today. The leader of that area called Abu Dawood. He called him and he said, Abu Dawood, teach this book. What's this book? It's a book of hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. It's a book that teaches you the sunnah of your messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. He compiled them. And not just any hadith. Hadith on how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And engage in dealings, mu'amalat and ibadat. So basically, the leader of that area, he understood that the Muslims are in this fitna because they don't have knowledge. So he understood that now sunnah needs to be spread. He called Abu Dawood. He said, sit here, teach the people these hadith of the Prophet that you've gathered. Teach them the sunnah of your messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam, because he understood that the spreading of the sunnah is what gets rid of fitna. So instead of you protesting, because no doubt there's going to be Muslims are protesting, instead of them writing, hashtag, Finsbury Park on their Twitters, brothers and sisters, let's open up books of hadith. But people are not going to do that, sadly. So, really, it's funny. I'm talking, no one's going to listen. Astaghfirullah. Not no one's going to listen, but most people are still going to, whatever. Because it's hard. This is hard. But if you really care, you'll do it. If you really care, you'll do it. It's hard. I know it's hard. But if you really care, you'll do it, my brothers and sisters. If you really care, you will do it. This is the way to solve problems. I'm fed up, man, of brothers and sisters just, Anyway, the concluding point was seek knowledge, brothers and sisters. Sorry if I came across disrespectful on that, what I just said now. Of course, many of you are going to listen, inshallah. Many of you are righteous and you're sincere. Forgive me, I shouldn't have said that. I'm upset though, man, I'm concerned. Because things are going to get out. Wallahi, you know what I'm worried? I'm worried that there's just going to be a bloodbath. Because of course, when Muslims, like we already said, it started from the foreign policy, but then when you got Muslims who are going to kill innocent people here in the UK, obviously you're going to expect the same way that extremism always breeds extremism. They're going to react. Then they're going to react. And before you know it, it's just going to be carnage on the streets. Like, wallahi, I wear my thobe everywhere I go. And I live in a community where there's a lot of non-Muslims. Every day I walk to my parents' house in my thobe. No one ever says anything. But recently I can sense the tension. Wallahi, I can sense the tension. Like, it's getting peak. Sisters are getting attacked in the streets and whatnot, So brothers and sisters, wallahi, knowledge is the solution right now. Like, we all know the status of jihad in our religion. The correct jihad. We're not talking about ISIS jihad. So please, non-Muslim, don't take me out of context or misquote me, because you don't even know what kind of jihad I'm talking about. You don't even understand jihad. You've not understood it. So don't take me out of context. Oh, he's talking about jihad. You've not understood jihad. Jihad is a very nuanced thing. Scholars have written books, volumes on it, explaining it. Okay, so side point. Anyway, brothers and sisters, the issue of jihad, we know the virtue of it in our religion, the correct jihad in its time, in its correct time, in its correct place, with its correct prerequisites and conditions and whatnot. Yet, irrespective of its high ability, what did Imam Yahya ibn Yahya say? Imam Yahya ibn Yahya is the Sheikh of Imam al-Bukhari, by the way. Imam al-Bukhari's Sheikh, okay? And Imam al-Bukhari's shuyukh are authentic, otherwise he wouldn't have brought them in his book. Otherwise they were not trustworthy. If they were misguided, he wouldn't have brought them in his book. What did he say, Imam Yahya ibn Yahya? He said to defend the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. To defend sunnah, speak out against bid'ah. He said it is better than jihad fi sabilillah. Imam Abu Ubaid ibn Qasim al-Salam, who was a contemporary of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. And if you don't know Imam Abu Ubaid, if you don't know, get to know. Great scholar, you should already know who he is. You know who Ronaldo is. Right? You know who Cristiano Ronaldo is. You know these people. You don't know Imam Abu Ubaid ibn Qasim al-Salam, you got to know who he is. Okay? What did he say? He said holding on to the sunnah is like holding on to hot charcoal. As the Prophet said one day, holding on to the religion will be like holding on to burning coal. He said holding on to the sunnah is like holding on to burning coal. And he said, and today to me, holding on to the sunnah, which is like holding on to burning coal, he said it is better than being struck by a sword on your neck. Remember, being struck by a sword on your neck in the path of Allah means what? You're a martyr. You're a martyr, right? He said holding on to the sunnah, calling to sunnah, da'wah to sunnah, defending the sunnah, teaching people sunnah, tawheed. He said that is better today. That was in his time. He said than being struck by a sword. In other words, he's saying it is better to spread the da'wah of tawheed than it is to engage in jihad. Okay? That's not belittling jihad. That's not belittling the correct jihad. I'm not saying that. But brothers and sisters, some of you have just got a jihad mindset. No. This is more important. This is more primary. This is the foundation of every other element of the religion. For the jihad or whatever it is. Okay? So, which is to teach and educate about worshipping Allah. Simple as praying, giving zakat, as I gave you ayat and evidences before. And Imam Ibn Battal, rahimahullah, who did an explanation, Imam Bukhari, and Ibn Hajar in his explanation of Bukhari brings this quote of Imam Ibn Battal. He says, seeking knowledge is better than jihad fi sabilillah. He said, because jihad isn't except with knowledge. Knowing what is permissible, what's not permissible, in other words. Then he said, don't you see that the mujahid, the one who does jihad, his affairs are turning between the commands of Allah and the prohibitions of Allah. What Allah commanded and what Allah prohibited. This is all knowledge. If people understood jihad, one of the fundamental things they know is that you cannot harm innocent people. But they never seek knowledge. They never sought knowledge. And if they did, they didn't take it from ulama. They just called one other guy alim. As the Prophet already told us, hadith Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As radiyallahu anhuma, a time will come where people will take ignorant people as scholars. And sadly, that's what's happened. Anyway, just to summarize and conclude what I was saying, my beloved brothers and sisters. The way we react and respond is by teaching Tawheed and calling to Sunnah. We do not react by killing innocent people. Our enemies and our oppressors are not our educators, they're not our role models. Finally, the way that you teach Tawheed and Sunnah, the foundation of it is seeking knowledge. I gave you examples of Ibn Taymiyyah, Abu Dawood, rahimahullah, scholars. And I gave you the ayah at the beginning. Allah said, وَلَوْ رَدُّوهُ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ وَإِلَى أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُمْ. If only they took it back to the messenger and to the scholars. I hope you guys will take heed, inshallah ta'ala. And I hope you spread the video and share the video so other people can benefit. And I hope you benefit. And I'm sick and tired of talking about these political issues in the month of Ramadan, man. It's destroying people's ibadahs, destroying their hearts. But it's important, it needs to be addressed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.